What's up guys, this is Chris here, and today we're going to be doing another full review. Today we're going to be doing the 1,000 round review of the all new Canik Mete MC9. The Canik Mete MC9 is in a long line of carry pistols that have come out in the last few years. However, this one I feel like is one of the better options that's out there today. Is it right for you? Let's find out. Before we get into the review, I do want to mention my Patreon supporters. Thank you guys very much. It's because of you guys we get cool guns and ammo and all kinds of fun stuff to review. If you want to support the channel, that's the best way to do it. Just go to the link in the description below. Also in that description is a link to a local shelter named Iowa. It's the YSS. I would appreciate it if you would go down to that link and it'll bring you right to the donate page and you could donate to those kids. Now, the Canik MC9 is a subcompact micro 9-ish pistol, which is kind of interesting because it's sort of right in the middle of what I would consider a micro 9 or a subcompact. Traditionally, the subcompacts have the same capacity, but they are a little bit thicker, kind of the older model, whereas the newer generations have a more thin design. This does have a thin design, but is not quite as thin and as small as some of the others. We'll be doing a size comparison here in a minute, but there is a benefit to that, and the biggest benefit to that is going to be the magazine capacity. So it takes the standard MC9 magazines that come with the gun. Two come with the gun. One, I believe, 10 rounder or one 12 rounder, one 12 rounder, and then one 15 round magazine. But the larger Canik magazines also work. That's kind of nice. So you have the same capacity capability as something like a Glock 26 because it uses the larger mags, M&P, etc. And now the MC9 does as well. So it gives you a lot more versatility in the actual use of the gun than some of the other micro 9s that you might experience. And we'll continue on that in a minute. But first off, what is the gun? Well, it is a semi-automatic polymer frame striker fired pistol, like a lot of other pistols, but this one is a pre-cocked striker, very similar to the P99. A lot of these guns that come out of the Canik line, H&K line, or the Walter line are all sort of copies or evolutions of the P99, and you get that great trigger because of that. That's very nice. They all kind of look the same too, and they have good ergonomics. But it has a 3-inch barrel, which gives you pretty decent velocity on the 9mm. I wouldn't go any lower than that. That's kind of the industry standard as far as being able to conceal it well, being comfortable, but also getting good enough velocity to expand those hollow points. If you go any lower than 3 inches, a lot of times you do have some problems. Ask your wife. The sights are pretty good on the gun as well. You have a steel front white dot sight with a blacked out rear with serrations on it. You actually have serrations on the other side as well, so if you have to run this off your belt or a table or anything like that, it's relatively easy to do. We have the shield RMS pattern red dot cut here. That is getting more and more common in the industry just simply because of not needing a plate system, not needing an extra set of screws. You can just throw whatever mini micro dot sight you want on there. They have an enclosed hollow stun that's very good. They also have the 507K that's very good. Those two I would definitely recommend for this. I would not recommend the shield sight just simply because it has a lot of durability issues, but if you want to take the risk, take the risk. It's your money. The slide has some great serrations on the front, so it's really easy to grab the back of the slide and run the slide, and it's really easy to run the front of the slide as well. Now, some people don't like that pinch method, but in modern day techniques, we use that simply because it doesn't bump the optic and you don't risk knocking your optic off zero. We got a light rail up on the front here, which allows you to put weapon lights on it, like the TLR7 sub and stuff like that, that allows you to turn this gun into a home defense gun as well. It's good for carry, but it's also flexing into larger roles simply because of the ability to put higher capacity magazines in it and a weapon light and an optic on it. So even though it's a 3-inch barrel with a 12 round capacity out of the box, you could have an 18 round capacity with a weapon light and a red dot before you know it. And that makes a very formidable home defense weapon. So if you're looking for a do-it-all pistol, this is a great place to look. Now we have these very large ambi slide lock slide releases here, which I sort of like and I sort of don't. They are easy to hit, don't get me wrong, and they are easy to use, but they are also easy to rest your thumb on and then your slide doesn't lock back. So when I use the Caniks, especially the small ones, I often just go toward running the slide as opposed to using the slide release slide lock in the first place because it's almost non-functional because I'm almost always pressing on it. The magazine release works very well. I have a reviewer model just like Mr. Guns and Gear did, and mine also is relatively tight, but the new ones are not like that. I've checked at my local Shields and stuff like that. Canik did send this, but it's not going to change my review at all, as you guys know that. Down here we have a relatively good textured grip. It's good texture on the bottom and on the back strap, of which you can remove. However, there's not enough texture up here, but you can change that with a stipple gun, or you can throw some grip tape on there, or whatever you need to do. It's not that big of a deal. We can ride relatively high on the gun. However, that's going to come into play later. That is one of my dislikes. And then we have a indicator on the back, and we have a loaded chamber indicator on the top. Now we'll get to that pre-cock striker trigger here, which is very nice. It's kind of flat, kind of curved, sort of right in the middle, kind of a hybrid trigger. And then we have a little trigger safety a la Glock style there on the front. That's very nice. I do not trust triggers that don't have trigger safeties unless they have a manual safety. That's just me. I carry appendix. It's pointed at something I really enjoy and I use fairly frequently. But if you don't, you can carry a 320. That's no big deal. We have a good undercut under here, and it's not quite big enough for my hands, but for most people, I think it works very well. We have the Glock style takedown on the slide, and that works very well also. And then your magazines, your 12-round magazine comes with a flush fit, or you can get this pinky extender on here, and then it comes with one 15-round magazine for that reload. So the bigger mag is easy to grab for the reload, and it's not as comfy to carry, so I would recommend probably stowing that in the pocket and keeping this one in the gun as you carry it. It does come with a holster, although it sucks. You know, it is able to carry out of the box. However, I would recommend trying to find an aftermarket holster, and good luck right now. I actually found one, but I don't really like it that much, so I'm not going to give it any play on the channel. I did get it from eBay, but there's not as many available for the MC9 yet as I'm sure there will be, because this gun's relatively popular. Holster companies just haven't caught up yet. Now the MSRP on this is around 400 bucks. And what do you get out of it? Well, you appear to get a great size and weight ratio, you appear to get a good capacity, but how did it actually perform in the review? Well, we fired 1,000 rounds through this with mixed ammunition, and we had great results. That's not too much of a surprise. Canik used to have a reliability issue or two here and there, especially when they used to spring their guns for NATO 124 grain, but now that they've become more popular in the United States, the recoil spring weights change, the designs change, and they have really updated their manufacturing from being just a budget line to sort of a budget premium line. And what I mean by that is they give you a lot of features and reliability for the cost that most manufacturers don't at all, let alone for the price. I think like the last 7 or 8 Caniks that I've reviewed have been absolutely exceptional in the reliability category, and this one, again, is no exception. We fired 25 rounds of critical defense, a little bit of Sig Sauer Elite performance through this, but not much. For the most part, it was full metal jacket, 115 or 124 grain. Both performed extremely well. The majority of the review was done with Blazer Brass, sponsored by Manning & Sons, and we really appreciate Manning for sending that ammo down and keeping our 1,000-round reviews capable of doing more than one a month, because they are very expensive, and without Manning's help, we wouldn't be able to do that. So we appreciate that. If you're interested, he is a phenomenal guy, and he is very pro Second Amendment, so go check out Manning & Sons as well. That being said, the ammunition performed well, and the gun performed well in literally every ammunition that we shot through it. We even shot some really cheap old Freedom Munitions ammunition, and then we shot some of my really low-powered steel challenge ammo, and all of it worked really well, which is very impressive for a gun that's not supposed to be able to function with all that ammo. Anywhere from hot 124 grain all the way down to very low-powered 115 grain, the gun performed excellent, and that makes me feel very good as well, because sometimes you don't want a gun that will only perform with hot ammo because you might be shooting in adverse conditions, and I use that because that applies to everything. You might be shooting with one hand and you're limp wristing it. You might be shooting upside down. You might be shooting rollover prone underneath a car. You might have something that's slightly impeding the slide. You really want the gun to be able to work and work and work, and when you pull it out, you want it to point and shoot, and that's what this gun does. Now, aside from reliability, what do we have for accuracy? Phenomenal. Very impressive in my opinion. You guys, if you saw the first shots, the first mag I shot on this gun was at 75 yards, and we got like 50% of the hits right away. Oh, that trigger reset is something. The short trigger reset.
Wow, that's a lot.
Pretty solid hits for 75 though.
Yeah, with irons.
Right out of the gate. Since then, I've been practicing with this, been training with this, and I've shot it better and better and better. And the reality is that most of the issues people have with accuracy is the interface with the gun. a lot of reviewers, a lot of people, they talk about mechanical accuracy, but honestly, most people are just not accurate enough to get the accuracy out of the gun to actually give it a review in the first place. And most of the issues that you run in with pistol accuracy is going to be user interface. That's going to be your ability to line up the sights correctly. The sight's going to be online and zeroed from the factory, because if you're running just iron sights, sights are zeroed wherever they are and you're going to have to find them. That's one of the modern day benefits of having a dot, is that you can get an exact zero right from the factory every time. Very nice. But the main thing is going to be that interaction with the trigger. Your ability to pull the trigger straight to the rear without disrupting the sight picture is accuracy as a whole when it comes to pistol marksmanship. And you can do that extremely well with this gun. At least I can. First benefit to me is that it's got a bigger grip than most of the pistols that you'll see on the table. Let me show you. So size comparison with the Glock 43X, it's actually smaller than the 43X and it has a larger capacity. Very cool. Now we have the IWI Masada here, and it is the same size as the IWI Masada. I should probably show the other gun, but it does have a much thicker and fatter grip than the IWI. As you can see, the IWI runs up right here, and that's one of the reasons why my wife and some smaller stature shooters, we've reviewed these two back to back, and we've shot them mostly on the same days. And most of the people with small hands did prefer this. It's got a tighter grip right there for your trigger, or your dominant finger and your thumb, and it's just way easier for smaller hands to get that trigger reach that they want on this. And then for larger hands, almost everybody preferred this gun, and me included. I like the reach to the trigger, but what I really like is it's got like a sub 5 pound pre-cock striker trigger, and it's absolutely fucking fantastic for a small gun. It's very rare you'll find a small subcompact with this type of trigger, just simply because it's A, hard to do, and B, a lot of people prefer a heavier trigger for carry. So keep that in mind if you're gonna buy this, that it's gonna have probably a trigger that's twice as good as your average Glock 26. And by the way, this is the same size, but a little bit thinner than the Glock 26. So if you had to pick between this and a Glock 26, for me personally, it's this all day, just because of the thin factor of it. So it's easier to carry on your belly, it's easier in your waistband, and then on top of that, you get better sights, a better trigger, and a full 1911 style like M&P or even the IWI grip style, as opposed to that Glock grip, which kind of has that big hump there, and it makes you break your wrist over more. And I don't particularly like that. I grew up shooting 1911s, so I preferred this. It's very, very accurate regardless. If you do your part, you're going to be able to hit it 50 and 75 yards every single time with this pistol. And for a gun that's 21 ounces and only a 3-inch barrel, that's really impressive, especially considering we didn't test it with an optic, which I shoot optics better. And if I had an optic, I could probably hit it 100 with no problem with this. And we'll probably be doing that in the future, because this is not a gun I plan on getting rid of anytime soon. This is going to be a keeper for me, and it's going to be in my carry rotation, which is why I'm currently cycling through holsters. So accuracy is great, reliability is great, ergonomics are really good as well. I didn't find a single ergonomic deficiency on this gun, aside from the fact that I do feel like the bore axis is in fact a little high. It didn't really affect the shooting at all. For some reason, it just kind of affects how it feels in my hand and how I perceive the sights. Like, I want the sights to be a little bit lower, but other than that, it works really, really great. I think the shield probably has a little bit less recoil than this, I'll be honest. But other than that, I felt like it had the lowest recoil of the Micro 9s, but that's just me, and I think that's because of my size, the size of my hands, because my wife actually thought the IWI had less recoil.
I don't know if I like this as much as the IWI Masada Slim, since I literally shot them back to back. I would say that this one doesn't feel as comfortable in my hands.
And she did in fact shoot this much better. So a lot of times it's up to the user, so you have to decide yourself. You have to go to the gun store, pick these up, give them a little touchy-feely, and see which one's right for you. Now let's compare it with the SIG P365 here real quick, and I'll show you what a real Micro 9 looks like. Now the 365, as you guys know, is one of my favorite Micro 9s. It's probably my favorite pistol from SIG besides the 226, and it is one of the smallest micro pistols. And as you can see there, it literally is dwarfed by the MC9. And that's kind of the standard comparison I like to make with Micro 9s, because if you're gonna go with something with a very small 10-round capacity and you wanna carry it and be very comfortable, the P365 is still the king. And as you can see, the MC9 is much bigger. That being said, this shoots much better, and that's just the way things generally work. You're never gonna be able to find the world's smallest pistol that shoots the highest caliber at the fastest rate. It's just not gonna happen. Everything is pros and cons, everything is a give and a take, and it's just the way it is.
That's the way she goes.
The MC9 is an amazing carry gun. I think it's great for what it is. It is a little bit on the big side by comparison to some of the Micro 9s, but it's pretty small compared to a lot of the subcompacts like the Glock 26 or the M&P subcompact. So fits nicely right there in the middle. It's a good niche, and I think personally it's a great gun. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. Please help out your local homeless shelters, and remember to recycle. I'll check you later.